Hi, I'm Phill Grove, and I thought I'd do a little video message today. I'm really not very much of a writer, so I like to do little videos. It's easier than typing. And I thought today would be a good time to talk about door knocking. I've gotten a lot of emails from a lot of people that have just purchased the Revolution program, and one of the questions I get a lot is, how do you make big money fast? And big money fast, well, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. However, one of the fastest ways to make money in this business is to find a motivated seller and to buy the house, obviously, at a discount, and then possibly wholesale it as one of your exit strategies. So that's one of my better answers for how to make money quickly. And the best way to find motivated sellers, one of the best ways, is to knock on doors. You're knocking on doors for people that are on a foreclosure list. We call this pre-foreclosure door knocking. Now, my own experience is that if I talk to somebody who is a motivated seller, I know from my own experience that I've got about a 1 in 20 chance of walking away with $15,000 at the end of that conversation. That's about what I know is my conversion rate. And if you're talking to people who are motivated sellers, if you're knocking on doors for people on a foreclosure list, well, the odds are those are very motivated sellers. So what that means is, knocking on doors, you knock on 20 doors and talk to 20 people, you can make $15,000. That's what I mean by big money fast. So door knocking is a very inexpensive and effective way to make a fair amount of money in a very short amount of time as a real estate investor. So let's talk a little bit about door knocking. Now, in the Revolution training program, door knocking is one of the 30 marketing strategies that we teach, and we go through that in the training program. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of just review it a little bit for this email and this little video to give you some of the finer tips. What do you wear when you're door knocking? Ordinary street clothes. Jeans, a shirt. I've got a kind of a dressy shirt on. It doesn't have to be this dressy. Just a normal person looking outfit. When I knock on somebody's door, I generally knock on the door. I always like to personally take a step back. I don't like to be right in somebody's face when you knock on their door. Now, I'm going to give you a tip that will help you overcome objections, and I'm going to save you 2 hours of time with this tip I'm going to give you in the next 30 seconds. After you knock on the door, you're going to explain, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'd like to talk to you about buying your home." And what you're going to hear is, "Oh, I've already got that taken care of. Thank you. Don't really need your help. I appreciate it, but thanks. I don't need your help." And what new investors usually do is they knock on 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 doors, and they hear that 50 times in a row, and then they scratch their head and they say, "Well, they can't all have their problem solved, can they?" And the answer is no, none of them have their problem solved. That's just the most common reaction that almost everybody facing foreclosure has when somebody knocks on their door. So you're going to have to, as you perfect your ability to talk to people who are motivated sellers, you're going to have to learn how to overcome objections. And the first objection you're going to have is, "I don't need your help." And the reason they're telling you that is they really don't want to talk to you. They're in denial. And they need something. You need to do something to get through that. So there's different techniques that you might have. I'll share a technique that I have. One of the things that I say is, look, I knock on doors. This is what I do for a living. I talk to people facing foreclosure, and I help them by buying their houses or helping them out of their difficult situations. But I have to say that every single person that when I knock on their door, every single person says the same thing. They always say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I really don't need your help." And at the end of the month, I go to the auction, and I look at all the houses that are at the auction. And I have to say, every single house goes to the auction. Every single one. So everybody says they don't need help, and yet every single house ends up at the auction. So I need to tell you that I know that you hope or think or believe that you have this worked out, but maybe you don't, and or even if you think you've got a plan, you may want to talk to me about other options, maybe a plan B or a plan C, other ways that for sure can help you avoid a foreclosure. Because a foreclosure is not the end of the problem, the foreclosure is the beginning of the problem. Now, where am I getting at here? Whenever I negotiate, I always like to negotiate with a carrot and with a stick. I always like to say, these are the good things about working with me, and these are the bad things if you don't work with me. And the way I do that when I talk to somebody in a pre-foreclosure situation, I call it kind of the heaven and hell portrayal. The second objection that a lot of people have when you talk to them is a lot of them, they've had this issue coming at them and they've tried to deal with it. They haven't come up with a solution. A lot of people in their mind are already checked out. They're like, you know, let the bank have it. Let them take it back. I don't even want to deal with this property. I'm done with this. And their thinking is that even if it forecloses, a foreclosure will be the end of the problem. So what I always try to make this picture and say to them is, look, a foreclosure is really not the end of the problem. A foreclosure is really the beginning of a 10-year nightmare that starts with the bank foreclosing on your property, the bank sending the sheriff out with his deputies to drag you and your family and everything you own out onto the curb in front of your neighbors, the lender auctioning your property off and then suing you for a deficiency judgment for up to the full amount of the loan. The lender can go after you by garnishing your wages. The IRS can then go after you with back taxes as a result of the 1099 they issued from the lender when they took the loss on the home. Excuse me. Creditors can be calling you, lawyers can be calling you. It's a 10-year nightmare of not being able to buy a home, buy a car, maybe even get a job depending on what you do for a living. And all of that is not necessary, you know, if you work with me, because I can buy your house quickly, you know, and you can solve this problem, you know, under your own terms rather than letting somebody else solve this for you. We can do this quickly. There's many options available. I'd like to talk to you about this option. And what have I done here? I basically said, look, it's me and all is good, or purgatory. The biggest contrast that I can draw between working with me and not working with me, that's what I need to persuade them to listen to what I've got to offer. So I call that, you know, heaven and hell, carrot and stick, how to negotiate.